Wonderful. So thank you everybody for joining us for our FIC national meeting. And we do have a number of things we wanted to cover today. And we have quite a few presenters that are going to be sharing a number of things. So if I can kindly just ask you to mute yourselves, and then we will have a forum for questions at the very end as well. So as we get started, our agenda for today, after a welcome, I will be passing it over to Chris Gray, who will be talking to you a little bit about our government strategy and what we have been doing, as well as then moving on to some surveys that Sara, our president, will be speaking to you about, and that includes the federal and provincial subsidies, as well as the THRP form. And then we have some exciting news to share about different partnerships. So I'll be speaking to you about our partnership with For Global, and then Mo Hagan from CanFit Pro is going to be sharing an offer from CanFit Pro on a silver membership. And then we will be talking about a new FIC structure, a meeting structure, before moving on to some important provincial updates. So just to remind everybody, we do have a 5-year goal and a 1-year goal. And as you can see, when it comes to our 1-year goal, we are looking this year to have at least 1,000 members join us with a business association membership. And we're so happy to see so many of you on the call today, because we are happy to announce that we have reached 680 business associate members. So thank you so much for being new. And this is a list of those who were joining us this January. And we hope this list continues to grow throughout the next year. The next piece here is off to Chris for our government update.
Sure, thank you, Trisha. I'd like to say it's been quiet in Ottawa, but as many of you know, it's probably been the absolute opposite of quiet here in Ottawa. Parliament resumed their winter session on Monday, so they resumed regular sittings of Parliament, including the Finance Committee, which FIC has put a notice in that we would like to appear. So hopefully we'll get a chance to appear before the committee. In lieu of that, we are in the process of seeking meetings with many people in Ottawa, including members of Parliament on the Health Committee, on the Finance Committee, to talk about our pre-budget request that we've put in. As many of you know, the trucking blockade here in Ottawa has taken a lot of Parliament's time and energy in the House, as well as sorry, and then but they're probably going to be clearing that out in the near future, as well as obviously the Conservative Party was plunged into a bit of disarray this week with Aaron O'Toole's caucus resoundingly giving him the boot, with 62% of his members voting to remove him as leader immediately. So Candice Bergen from Manitoba will act as the interim leader, and the Conservatives will have a leadership convention. When that will be is yet to be determined. Sooner would be good for some of the front runners like Pierre Poilievre. But what it's really done is frankly given the Liberals a bit of a blank slate and a bit more longer runway in hopefully getting more done during this parliamentary session. So with regard to our federal budget requests, I did mention that FIC has obviously put one in. There's also a process going on through the Finance Department where any Canadian can put in a submission to the Finance Department, and the deadline for that is February the 25th. So Trisha, I just mentioned to you before this meeting, but if you wanted to either put a link in here that members can get, or we can circulate that to members afterwards. It doesn't take very much time at all to put that in, and frankly, the more the merrier would be great. So we also put a letter into the Finance Minister outlining our and reiterating our budget requests, and that's also going to a number of other parliamentarians here in Ottawa this week. I'll let Sara talk a little bit more about the the gist of that letter in a second. And we also had a very good meeting with Adam Van Couverden, former Olympian, a big supporter of the industry. He's the parliamentary secretary to both the Minister of Health and the Minister of Sport. And we had a really good discussion with him, and he had some thoughts around some proposals internationally that he was thinking might be interesting for us to try to adopt moving forward, that we might be able to get some traction on with the government. So aside from that, I will maybe turn it over to Sara now to talk a little bit about what's in that letter, but also talk about some of the discussion we had with Adam on Monday.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to February. Not sure how we got here. Our thoughts are, of course, with every fitness facility that is still closed and under lockdown. And we are cheering for you as I believe we have reached a pivotal point where February 14th, the day of love, Valentine's Day, we will have every fitness facility open. But as fitness business owners, we all well know that just being open isn't a sigh of relief, that we have a lot of work ahead. And with a lot of work ahead, that means that we need to continue to pound the doors of our federal government and our provincial governments for support, recognizing that our industry is unique. We are not an industry that reopens our doors and, Trisha, and we're just not an industry that reopens our doors and is able to rebound financially, that we have a long road ahead of us in order to rebuild back to where we were, considering all of our losses. And I know that for many of us, those are also likely personal losses now, where you have likely had to dip into personal finances just in order to keep going. So there's a lot of work that we're doing around that. We do have a letter that we have sent off, as Chris shared, and I believe that Trisha will at some point during our meeting pop it into the chat, and I probably also email it out with the replay from today's meeting so that all of you have a copy of that. Again, it is reiterating that the medical expense category is an area where we would love to see fitness considered as healthcare, and therefore should be considered a medical expense for all Canadians. And in our meetings with Adam this past week, he was supportive of that and asked some really good questions. And Trish and I also had, one of the questions he asked us was, you know, are we the first country to really have to look at it this way, or is there anything that we can look at? And as the Fitness Industry Council of Canada, we have the privilege to sit on the Global Federation with URSA, where countries all around the world are represented, and we get to represent Canada, share what we're doing here in Canada, but also hear from other countries. And some of the countries that really stand out in the initiatives that they are taking are the UK and Japan. Specifically in Japan, the government there actually kind of thanked their citizens by funding fitness as a way for them to recover nationally from COVID-19. So we are going to be in connection with those people that we met on that in those meetings, and be able to get some really good data and experience from them, what the framework is, and be able to bring that back to our federal government. So, you know, continuing to move things forward and to gain traction as we're going. And, you know, at every turn we do get support. It's just about, as Chris said, it's a bit about volume and numbers, and we need to make sure that everybody is hearing about it, talking about it, and then nobody says, oh, the fitness industry is asking for what? It needs to be very, very clear. And that's where we have our advocacy efforts that have to align with our media efforts, because we have to make sure that through media, you know, government officials as well as Canadians are aware of what we're doing as the fitness industry and how essential fitness is to our physical and mental health. So one of the things that we spoke about when we shared our strategic plan for 2022 was we think it's imperative for us to have data, Canadian data that we are able to share, that can accelerate our cause, that can accelerate our efforts, to truly help to accelerate our industry, to accelerate your business, and to accelerate our recovery from COVID. And so a question that I get asked on a daily basis in all of our advocacy efforts is how many members of the fitness industry are actually getting federal and provincial subsidy. And so we have put together a survey, and we would love for, and Trisha's going to just pop it into the chat. We will also share it at the end of the call. So if you don't know all of the answers now, that's okay. It's a very, very simple survey. Basically, do you get federal subsidy? If you do, which ones? Do you get provincial subsidy? If you do, which ones? And what province are you in? This is very, very important data for us to bring back, because right now we have some provinces that are saying, well, we don't really have to give you too much because the federal government's supporting you guys enough. And then we have the federal government saying, well, but we're only going to support this group of people. Really, if the province is shutting you down, you should be asking the province for help. And so we want to be able to have very, very clear data to present in these conversations to really empower some change there. So if people have a moment, is it in the chat there already? Awesome. So if people can just take a moment, again, it is simple. If you don't know the answers, that's okay. Take a moment to figure it out. But if in the next couple of days we can get this information trickling in, it would be really, really powerful for our industry. And secondly, the second piece of data that is really critical for us right now, and has an impact on every single person who is a fitness business owner, whether you, why can't I think of the word, whether you can get THRP, why can't I think of what that word is? Never mind. But even if qualify, whether or not you qualify for THRP or not, this is an important survey. The reason is that we are putting a lot of pressure on the federal government, on Chrystia Freeland's office, along with other associations, to say that the THRP threshold has to be lowered, that we cannot just deal with people who are bleeding out significantly, but we also have to deal with those people who are running businesses that are financially viable, that need support in order to keep going. And the only way that we can do that is with data from the fitness industry. And so what we are asking for you to do is that even if THRP is not a program that you qualify for, we ask that you use the Excel spreadsheet that, again, Trisha will share in the chat. We'll also share it in the email after the meeting. It's one specific spreadsheet. If you could work through those questions, and I know it's a little bit of work, but in the end, you actually will get a percentage shared with you. And that is line C3. And that is your subsidy rate that THRP uses to qualify you for the subsidy. And we really need to know what that rate is, because that will really, really empower us in our conversations moving forward. And if the rate is 0, please share with us 0. But the more entries that we can have, if we can say that we have X hundred of fitness facilities that shared this data with us, and what we know is this, because when we go into these meetings with ministers, they just want to know, well, what percentage of your industry is benefiting from the subsidies and how much isn't? And if I can say 90% of fitness businesses do not even qualify for the THRP program, that's really powerful information for us to move the needle on this. So there's a couple questions in there. Again, it's simple. But the hardest work is actually going through some of the calculation in order to get what that line C3 is, so that we're consistent. The reason why just telling us your drop in revenue is that it's just way too ambiguous. And I know that we've done that before, you know, what is your drop in revenue? And all of us are using different calculations. So if we really want to powerfully use this with the federal government, we need one system that we're all following with one continuous number that we can rely on. And all we ask is if you have multiple locations that are all under separate entities, legal entities, therefore you qualify for THRP or do not qualify for THRP separately, then we do ask that you fill this out separately unless the number happens to all be the same. Any questions on that? This will be really powerful data for you. So thank you in advance for everybody just figuring out what this is, because we need to be able to share that what is ahead of us right now and what is available to us is simply not enough. Okay, Trisha, next slide.
Looks like there's no questions. All right, so the next piece here is about partnerships. So we are very excited to note that we have partnered with an organization called For Global, which is working in partnership with Sheffield Hallam University to develop a social value calculator for the Canadian fitness market. So this is hopefully going to be launched off in March, and we want all of our members to know that this is going to be happening. So we are going to have an extensive survey coming out that we would like you to complete in order to collect further research on our fitness businesses. And it will cover things such as the social value contributions, participation to COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 on the industry itself, as well as general market data. So there are going to be different sections that we would like to have you all participate in and make sure that we can get some viable information that we can then take to the government and use as support. So that is something that is going to be coming up soon. And we hope that all of you can participate and encourage others to do so as well. The next is another partnership with one of our very prominent members and partners, CanFit Pro. So I will pass it over to Mo to tell us about this one.
Thank you very much, Trisha, and good afternoon or good morning, everyone. I wanted to be very brief today and just share with you a update to our silver membership offering for all FIC members. So as a member, you will now automatically be registered for a FIC silver membership. And as you can see from the slide, thank you, Trisha, for putting that up for us, that we've added additional benefits to that standard silver membership. We are offering it to you to help you in your recovery, as you can see, ramping up some of the opportunities for job postings, and also offering you a complimentary registration for our unique business series. That's an online event that's taking place later this year. And that will be 2 events in 1 month. And we welcome you come along at no cost. Also, you'll have the opportunity of receiving our digital copy of our magazine and our B2B newsletter, along with our pre-conference, that is our global event, printed magazine that will be automatically sent to you through CanFit Pro. And last but not least, 20% discount on services such as our trainings and certification courses, just to help you to ensure that part of your mission and your strategic initiative is to make sure that all of your trainers and instructors are certified and up to date, whether that be with their CERT, their CPR, and anything else. So it is just our way of helping, and we want to make it easy for you to get started. So thank you to the board for working through a process in which, as a member, you will automatically be registered. There'll be no action required on your end, and we will be working through that process over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. The next piece is just a note to how the structure of our meetings will be changing. So I'll give it to Sara to discuss that briefly.
So we will recall that our meetings are monthly now, and we have found a lot of success provincially in having a structure where the beginning of the meetings is provided to all fitness businesses of an update where everyone is muted and there isn't the ability for people to unmute, but it allows the whole industry to not only learn about FIC, but to see what is going on and how important it is for us to advocate and to fight for our industry and to fight for Canadians' physical and mental health. And so we're starting on our next monthly meeting in March. We will be changing our structure to having a part 1 and a part 2. It does mean 2 separate Zoom links that we will be sharing, but the first one will be open to all fitness businesses across Canada. And then the second part will be members only, where we will dive deeper into the topics and we will do more sharing and updates and be able to open and have further discussion. Any types of special speakers and so forth will all be FIC members only. So this will just be a brief time at the beginning of the call, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to extend this to fitness businesses who knew nothing about us. And we are learning in BC, we have almost doubled our membership, and maybe I'm stealing Carl's thunder, but our membership has increased significantly due to a strategy like this. And I know that that other provinces are following suit, and we are able to reach and support other fitness businesses through this structure. So the biggest change will be that you will have 2 Zoom links, but we'll try to keep it all concise for you in your meeting invite so that you have really good access to it. But thank you.
Thanks, Sara. And this actually brings us to our next piece, which is the provincial updates. And we are going to be going over the provinces that have had the most excitement, I'll call it, over this last month. So we will start with Quebec.
Oh yeah, Quebec, we're in the house, you know. So we did a lot of stuff since the last time we saw each other. We started a campaign around January 17. It's called Save Your Health, so Sauve ta santé in French. And all the gyms were invited to promote that campaign. And it was, honestly, it was a big success. And we've been since then 17 days in a row in the media. We've reached millions of people in the journal, in the radio, on Facebook, and everything. So that was quite good. We were still closed, but we made a lot of noise. And like you did in BC and elsewhere in Canada, we started to do half and half meeting. So half part was open to everybody, and the other part was open to only the members. And we have like quite a good attendance. Many people join us and work with us. We've talked with CrossFit Canada also to invite them to join and just share the news that we are like we are doing some stuff, and they are behind us. And I think they promote it well with all their affiliate around Canada and here in Quebec. And today we had a great meeting. Like one of our member, we asked the member to call their deputy and call their like the people they know at the government. And today we had a meeting with one of the top 5 minister, or how do we say it, Nathalie? Like when you're in charge of a minister, is it minister? Minister.
Close enough.
It's
Lâche pas, gars. Lâche pas, c'est bon, close enough.
Okay, so one of the top 5 minister in our government. So we had a meeting with her this morning, and she was really receptive, or she was really open to what we have to say to her. And the thing that is quite like funny is that she asked us, did you ever present that to the Minister of Sport? And we're like, yeah, we presented that in 2020. And since then we had no news. So good for you to go and see her after. And she assured us that she's going to go and see the Minister of Sport just to make sure all what we are asking is on the table. And we work a lot with the opposition also. And we had a question like at the reopening of the parliament here in Quebec, there was a question asked this week, and there's supposed to be some next week too, asking the Minister of Sport what the hell is going on. So we are working hard here, and things are moving a little bit. And on Valentine's Day, we're gonna give a lot of love, and the gift of love is gonna be us opening to all Quebecers. So that's it for us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gabriel. And then we are going on to Ontario. I believe, Ian, were you still able to speak? I know he had a...
Trisha?
Yes.
If you can go back, and I will give the time to Ian to join us, but I forgot to say we are at 50% capacity. So this is what is going to happen on the 14th. It's 2 meters all time, obviously, and it's wearing the mask. And this is kind of weird. They don't really know how to explain it, but they say wear the mask all time, but don't if you don't feel like wearing the mask when you do intense workout. So it's kind of you wear it, but you know, wear it or not. So we're gonna say wear the mask all time, but if you're doing intense workout, you can take it away. So that are the measures we're gonna face on February 14th. Duke of the French, see you.
Thank you. I know that's information that many would like to know. Okay, Ontario. Perry, would you like to take the, oh, I see Ian's here.
Hey team, how's it going? Update in terms of Ontario. So I'd say a couple of things. We're probably in a place that we haven't been before where the plan is a little bit more concrete here. Fitness facilities are open right now. Major restriction being we're at 50% capacity. The good news with this reopening is there's a pretty clear and quick timeline laid out. So as of Feb 21, we basically for fitness will be able to operate at full capacity. Still waiting for specific details. Is this for me? Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. I'm here. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. So Feb 21, we are set to basically be open with no capacity restriction, which is huge. And it's a pretty quick timeline. So I'd say the situation in terms of reopening restrictions for Ontario is in a decent spot right now. We have just received the $10,000 grant that's been administered to businesses this week. So people have received like a quick kind of summary. If they've received one in the past, they get it basically very easy. It's a questionnaire and they'll get that $10,000 grant. We're currently in discussion with Grassroots on just seeing if we are able to secure additional industry specific support. We know being open, as Sara mentioned earlier, is not the end all and be all right now. There's a long road ahead. So we're seeing if we are able to get our hands on any sort of additional funding. And that is kind of what is happening in Ontario. So it's 17 days away from having very little restrictions though. And right now, even with the opening this week, it's good. I'm seeing a lot of members roll back. So will masks and passports still be required in early March? I've not heard anything specific around that. Like I've heard conversations, but as of right now, masks and a vaccine passport are still in play. That's all.
Thank you, Ian. And BC.
Thank you, Trisha. Thank you, Ian. Amir, Sarah's comments, our thoughts go out to businesses across Canada that are currently closed and continue to struggle despite being open. So we continue to think about you and us. We're all in this together. So thoughts go out to all of you across Canada. Fitness is open in British Columbia. On January 18th, our health minister, Dr. Henry, thanked the Fitness Industry Council of Canada for our work with her and her team to open fitness in a healthy and safe way. So I really wanted to thank everybody across the nation and who are members and active members of the Fitness Industry Council of Canada. I think that without the active membership that we had across Canada and then obviously in BC and our team out here in BC, we wouldn't have been able to open so soon. And so thank you so much to everybody. And I know we discussed amongst our leadership group in British Columbia recently that our feel is the reason we were able to be at the table, be engaged, and get fitness open was we didn't always necessarily agree in our group out here in BC, but we always trusted each other. And I think one of the things that's important and critical for all of us to understand is that we won't always, our personal beliefs or professional beliefs won't always align. But if we're working towards a common outcome, we can make our decisions based on what's going to get us to that common outcome. And I think that's going to be critical with some of the things that we continue to work on in the FIC. And it was a great example in BC where even members of our leadership group would question certain decisions another gym owner was making, but we all came together at the right time and consistently and trusted each other. So that was great to see. So thank you to everybody for that. And so speaking of success, I thought it'd be good to share our current and future goals in British Columbia. And so when it comes to relief, Sarah's currently ongoing, been speaking directly with the Minister of Jobs and Economic Recovery out here in British Columbia. She spends a lot of her time on the BC initiatives on the grant relief out here in BC and specifically to working towards getting grant relief for out-of-town operators. And so that's something that we've been working on since we've been able to get multi-club locations access to the grants in BC. So that was a small victory out here in BC. And the initial grant in March, which was a circuit breaker grant, it was really per brand. So if one brand had multiple locations that didn't have different business licenses, that one brand only got one grant. And so we're able to have them change that to multiple locations. And we still continue to engage in conversations regarding out-of-town operators that don't necessarily operate or have their head office in British Columbia, but have multiple locations in British Columbia. Even if, Ian, if you could just put yourself on mute, thank you. In terms of grants as well, we're looking to triple the amount of grant relief for gyms. And we've really, I know Sarah's really done a great job explaining how different our business is compared to other businesses and how the membership base and the membership business model of gyms is really more affected than any other business in British Columbia. And so we look to triple the amount of grant as well as adjust the criteria for the grant in terms of employees per location. We really feel that the BC government was rushed in this grant relief and sort of took a look at maybe the restaurant industry where one location could have upwards of 50 to 100 employees, whereas a gym, we're not really seeing that many employees. And I don't think that they were aware of how small of grant relief was going to be given to gyms. And so Sarah's working on both those avenues there. We are working also, so Sarah's working to gain access to gyms that have multi-use and specifically with gyms that not only just cater to 18 plus, but also children that were able to remain open in that sector of their business where they cater to children's sports was open. They had revenue coming in and weren't allowed access to the grant money. And I know Sarah's working hard to overcome that challenge. In terms of the initiatives in BC, we're also working towards loan forgiveness and loan accessibility for gyms in British Columbia. As we all know, the banks aren't necessarily running to support us in giving us loans. And so we're working hard for loan forgiveness for some of the COVID loans in British Columbia in particular, as well as loan accessibility for gyms. There's a real, we understand that especially when it comes to franchise locations, there's a lot to somebody franchising a location and needing access to loans. And so in order for the gym industry in BC and Canada to stay relevant and stay healthy, we need to continue to grow, and having lack of access to loans right now isn't going to support that. And so we're working hard in that area. We are two big initiatives in British Columbia, which, we talked, I wasn't on the call this week in BC. I apologize for that. As Sarah would say, I was having a me day. I wasn't, I was actually working, but Sarah was ridiculing me saying I was having a me day. But we're working towards fitness becoming essential in British Columbia, as well as incentivizing gym memberships in British Columbia for people, British Columbians to be able to gain access to tax credits or funding or whatever that looks like if they join gyms. There's an appetite for a discussion with our industry, the Fitness Industry Council of Canada, with the government in BC and public health around both of those things. So they're willing to hear us out and be at the table with us. But we are really going to need some leaders in BC to step up and support both of those initiatives, because Sara and I and our leadership group in the province with Angela and Jeff, we just don't have Aaron, we don't have the resources to take it all on. So we're looking forward to having some people step up. A person in particular already threw his name in the hat already is Greg with Anytime Fitness. So thank you, Greg. And so the other item that we're working on in British Columbia is the restrictions. Happy to hear that Ontario, basically there'll be no restrictions as of February 21st. That certainly supports what we're working towards in BC. We're working towards the cap of 25 being removed for group fitness by Family Day in BC. So my assumption is Family Day is probably around that 21st date, if it's not the 21st date. So we're moving the 25 cap and removing capacity restrictions altogether for gyms in BC. Most businesses in BC don't have restriction limitations, and we feel that we've proven ourselves through this pandemic to be the gold standard of health and safety in business. Gyms have done that across this country, so there shouldn't be capacity restrictions. And so we're looking around that February, I'm guessing 21st date for Family Day to have that relaxed. And sort of the language that Dr. Henry's using in the media is around this date to really relax restrictions. And I think she's particularly speaking to the nightclubs and wedding venues that are currently still closed. We need to have our name on the list of restrictions being taken away and have engagement with public health, or they will forget about us and they'll just keep restrictions on for the simple fact they've forgotten that we even have them. So we're making sure that our voices are heard there and we're not forgotten. And with that, I pass it back over to Trisha. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Carl, for that update. And we have time for any comments and questions before we wrap up today. And I also wanted to pass it over to Natalie, actually, before we do that. And she is actually doing a segment called Look Who's Hiring, which we would like to offer to all of our FIC members to be highlighted over on social media as well. And Natalie, if you wanted to kindly speak about that.
Sure, thanks, Trisha. And I'll give Carl and Sara a moment to go answer the multiple requests for help and questions that are in the chat while I do that. And so you may remember that part of our strategic initiatives for 2022 is to solve the labor issues that we have in our facilities. And so one of the pieces that I have offered to support with that is my matchmaking. I'm pretty good at that. And so I'm working on matchmaking gyms to fitness pros and fitness pros to gyms. And so that's a feature that's done on an Instagram live called Look Who's Hiring. It is on, I think Trisha's going to pull it up. It is on our social media channels and we had sent it to everybody by email, but happy to do that with you guys for FIC members. And so I asked 3 questions to try and help understand the culture of your locations really, really well. It's hosted on your gym. It's hosted by myself and then reshared by me, by your facility, as well as by FIC. And because of our comment networks, especially over the past few weeks, like you guys saw, we were getting close to 1 million views on some of the posts that we have put out there. FIC's engagement on social media went up over 5,000% the last couple of weeks. And so we're happy to be able to translate that information to anybody that wants to know about it. I'll pop in my email here so you guys can reach out. I did the first one with Carl, which was fun. And I've just booked a couple with our friends over at Movati and some of the other locations there, have done it with a few of our members, and I'm happy to help you guys there just to, again, put a different face and a different communication method around letting everybody that is already in the industry or is thinking about the industry understand that these are wonderful, viable workplace opportunities that we offer in our industry, and they are sustainable. And even though we have been closed in Quebec, for example, 14 out of the last 23 months, even though we have been closed a lot, there's oodles of opportunities that are there. And it's a great way for you guys to get to know you versus the traditional job postings that might be out there. So I'll pop this in there and you guys can reach out to me directly and we will book it like in the next 2 weeks. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes tops and we're good to go. Thanks, Trisha.
Wonderful, thank you. And if anybody has any questions, concerns, comments that they would like to share at this point that came up from today's presentation, feel free to use the hand raised and we can go through them, or feel free to use the chat as well. Looks like we're having a quieter day.
I think the chat was very successful today. Oh, Amber.
Amber,
so
yes.
I don't know if Stephanie and I both had to hop away on our phones for a second. I don't know if she was able to hop back on or not to give the Manitoba update. Did she or
Yeah,
no?
go ahead, Amber, yes.
Okay, she did give it or no? Sorry.
No.
Okay, there's, I'll just give just a quick update. I do see there's a few Manitobans on there. They extended our orders for 2 more weeks, so we don't end now until February 27th. For gyms, that means that we still remain at 50% capacity. The only changes they really made with that is that there's no cap anymore on places. If they go to sporting events or anything, the cap was 250, so they removed that cap. And they're re-allowing tournaments as of like sporting tournaments and stuff as of February 8th. However, nothing made changes for the gyms other than extending our orders until February 27th at least. And then they'll relook at it then. There was a sector support program that came out, which wasn't very helpful for the gym industry. The way that they looked at how they were going to hand out that form of payment to everybody was based on the number of employees you have. And so if you were under 9 employees, the most you could get was $3,000, which seemed to be like majority of gyms, unfortunately. So unless you had a larger gym and that's per gym. So, and even restaurants were a little bit, everybody's kind of running a skeleton crew. So it went up in like $3,000 increments. They actually just opened, because they extended our orders, they reopened a second payment of that sector support. So for the majority of us, that means like another $3,000, which isn't huge for what we're seeing here, but we're working on it. There was another grant called Retrain Manitoba. And that's actually who just called me. It was the director of talent and workforce in Manitoba. And that's why I had to hop away. They were just calling me back because there's a little, there was a gym in Winnipeg who the Retrain Manitoba is meant for any businesses in Manitoba to apply for bettering your business. So if a personal trainer wanted to go take another course, you could get up to $2,500 per employee in any business. So whether you take a QuickBooks course or a CPR in any industry, what a gym did was they ended up telling all these, they put it on a sponsored ad on Facebook and said to tell all these major businesses to apply for that $2,500 and then pay them to do personal training. So then they could write a receipt saying training. And then the funds, the call I just got back, or the funds are depleted, which were supposed to be there till the end of March for businesses. So they're going to take a look at that because they're closing the funding now today, which is unfortunate because we could have got a lot more people on board with getting another certification or retaking your CPR or even an online, course on anything. So they're re-looking at that. But not a lot of stuff going on in Manitoba. I mean, obviously we see all the stuff going on, same as Ottawa here. They're all around Parliament here right now too. And a lot of people are coming into the gyms. I'm sure you guys are seeing that too, and kind of testing the waters and pushing the limits. And we're getting all the phone calls about, can you open your doors to us now? Can we take our masks off? Can we do this? And so everybody's kind of holding as strong as they can, but we all feel that and hear that too. I did have a question for Sara though. I know that you were on CJOB here the other day. I didn't actually get a chance to hear it, but it was brought to my attention. I know that one comment was made. I just want to get clarification on this before we have our Manitoba call. You mentioned in the meeting that that the gyms are doing really well and selling a lot of memberships, or they have a big uptake in memberships on that thing. And I'm not quite sure. There was a few gyms that called and asked where that information came from. Was that because it was on the Manitoba radio, I believe? And so I just wondering if
that wasn't me, Amber. I wasn't on that. Yeah.
On CJOB.
No.
Was somebody of the Fitness Council? Because that's what they said they were.
No.
Also, just to support you in that communication, Amber, not to cut in, but having some experience now and being new to the media, they're going to put on little clips and make it seem like somebody could have said that as well. So we try to control the message as much as possible. But for example, as you know, I can speak for 45 minutes straight, and they put a little clip of me sneezing instead, or saying gonna. So I don't think Sara had any media. Nobody wants to hear from Sara in Manitoba. Let's be honest about that. But in that respect, if it was, that's likely what happened.
Can I interrupt for a sec? Sorry, Stephanie, I'm here. I actually heard the interview, and I don't know where they got the information from, but it was it definitely was Sara. It probably was something that was stolen from another interview that she did, but it was broadcast here in Manitoba, and talking about how gyms are seeing a huge increase in membership. And we just were.
I wonder even when that's from, right? I wonder when that's even a clip, because I wouldn't have said that any time in the last 60 days. So interesting.
Yeah, I don't know either, but you know, at least now we can kind of nail it down and kind of go from there. And you know, things like that happen, right? You do, just like he was just saying, you know, you do a 5-minute interview and they take the 10 seconds out of context and you know, and broadcast it, right? So
yeah.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Sara gets very confused sometimes as well, so that could have been it.
Not true. I just wanted to address some of the comments where we didn't get updates from every single province. And as we transition to being, as a country, open in fitness after Valentine's Day, and hopefully continuing to be open, what I maybe should have shared earlier is that we're going to start to shift away from province by province updates and more sharing in what are the 1, 2, 3 high level points from a strategic perspective that we need to make sure that are brought to you. If you're looking for province by province specifics, those can be brought to you on the provincial calls, but we're really looking to drive our strategic plan here on these calls and for you to know more about those updates. So that'll be starting on our next call also. So sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier when I talked about the upcoming changes on our calls.
Do we have any other questions here? We're okay.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, I will stop the recording here today.